Big companies are hiring for remote positions that can be performed anywhere in the country except for Colorado. The issue is a new law that requires companies in Colorado to disclose the expected salary or pay range for each position. The law is aimed at narrowing gender wage gaps and providing greater pay transparency.
But not all companies are on board. In their job postings, several companies, including Johnson & Johnson, have included the caveat: this position may be performed remotely anywhere within the United States except the state of Colorado. I don't know what to say about this. I got to tell you, I think it's really, really silly. Why shouldn't they disclose salary ranges? There are often job postings for a number of positions that if you just go online and look, show relative salary ranges. Why are the companies against this, particularly in the state of Colorado?
Right. Yeah, I think we might have a genuine disagreement here. I think this shows the unintended consequences of having, feel-good laws about, we're going to have disclosure and all that. I mean, some businesses like to be more private about that. They might feel that it creates hostility in the workplace if everybody knows exactly what people are making. People could have different educational backgrounds that qualifies them for higher pay, even if they're doing the same job. Obviously, there shouldn't be discrimination based on gender. I think that's already illegal. It should be if it's not. But some of the, it's talked about a lot in activist circles, the gender wage gap. Often it's talked to 77 cents or whatever it is. It does go down once you start looking at the same jobs. Men and women tend to do different jobs. When you look at the same job, it doesn't go away completely. I do think there is some sexism in pay, but the problem doesn't look quite as astronomical as activists like to claim it is.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. My concern here is, why would the companies want to not say what the relative pay range for a position is, right? Yeah. If you, especially in large organizations, you have a hierarchy of positions and they have pay scales for them. Now, there's some flexibility therein, but it's not that great of a variance. And if they're trying to basically inhibit, people who are going to do remote work from being able to negotiate for the higher kind of range of that salary, I don't know. I just think that fundamentally seems unfair. Let people know what the salary range is and let them argue and advocate for themselves in doing that, but not actually adhering to providing the data for people to do that. Look, you're not going to pay somebody half, right? Those positions, people are not just going to work for half of the salary. So what are you talking about, a 10% difference here? I mean, maybe 15? It's not huge deals when it comes to paying people. And look, one of my mentors in business told me the same thing. You got two things in business to make it successful: great ideas and great people. We got to pay great people.
Right.
So let people negotiate for their salaries. That's my perspective here.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's always important to keep in mind, especially for Democrats, for liberals who often want the government to do something about social problems. We got to keep in mind there are unintended consequences. If you want to be a state that's going to make businesses jump through hoops, even if they seem small or minor to you, you're going to cause businesses to say, well, maybe we'll go somewhere else. How does Texas look this time of year? That kind of thing. And that has economic effects. It makes it harder to get a job, and it can end up hurting your state. So you got to be really careful that that this is a really important law. Everything is really necessary because you can chase business away, and that's not good for the residents of any state.
Yeah, no, I agree with that fundamentally. And there are unintended consequences of every piece of legislation that attempts to right some of these ills and create more pay equity. However, I think what's also important is that when companies are putting out, okay, we're looking for positions, we're looking for people of this particular qualifications, but you just can't live in the state of Colorado. Right? Because we actually have to tell you what the relative salary range is. I don't know. I just don't think that that's going to last too long, especially if there's more conversations about this like the one we're having here today.
Yeah, well, and that's always true, right? Media coverage of these things can cause a change in policy. You have to imagine their spokesperson, if they have a real spokesperson, is saying, "Oh, this looks really bad for the company. Maybe we should just get rid of this policy." It would not surprise me in the least bit if that happened. And so we've attacked the media a lot, but that's a good thing that even the mainstream media can do. Mm-hmm. This was in the Wall Street Journal. You can call out bad or just kind of murky behavior by corporations, and you can affect change.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, and to be clear, this is not universal. There are a few companies that are doing this, but I know plenty of companies who, and I actually have friends who are working remotely for large corporations, and they live in Denver.
Right.
So it's not universal, and companies that don't want to disclose what the pay ranges are, we should wonder why they don't want to disclose that.
Yeah.
And I think there is potentially some nefarious ideals behind that, meaning they don't want to pay people, any more than they absolutely have to. And if people know what the pay ranges are, they can negotiate for more. And look, the pay wage gap, that exists between genders and just generally between the richest Americans and the poorest Americans is too big already. Let people negotiate for more salaries. They need more spending power. It's better for everybody. It's better for the economy. So I have more on Rising right after this.